Imagine dropping 37 points on Michael Jordan, outscoring him in his house, then walking off and saying, "Nice game, Mike." Less than 24 hours later, Michael dropped 36 points by halftime. What happens when an unknown young guard wakes the GOAT? You get one of the coldest NBA revenge stories ever told. It's March 1993. The Chicago Bulls are two-time defending champions. Michael Jordan is the face of the league, if not even more, averaging 32 points a night. Meanwhile, the Washington Bullets, they're struggling. 20 games below 500, led by coach Wes Unseld. No one expects much from them, especially not from their quiet guard, LaBradford Smith. But when they walk into Chicago Stadium, something strange happens. Smith starts cooking, torching the Bulls. Mid-range, pull-ups, free throws. By the end of the night, he has 37 points on just 20 shots, while guarded by MJ. And just as he's walking off the floor, legend says he leans over and says, "Nice game, Mike." That was his first mistake, because Michael Jordan took it personally. The Chicago Bulls were unstoppable in 1993, because their superstar, MJ, was unstoppable. Every night they took to the court, not just to win the game, but to humiliate their opponents. However, on the night of March 19th, 1993, the tables completely turned on them. The Bulls were facing the Bullets on the first night of their back-to-back. The game seemed like a formality for Chicago because Washington didn't have a roster that could compete with them. However, there was a young man on the Bullets who decided to play the best basketball of his life that night. Meet LaBradford Smith, the player who had been picked 19th overall by Washington just 2 seasons prior. A player who, on that night of March 19th, decided to go off against the Bulls. And most importantly, he decided to go off in front of the look of his stunned defender, Michael Jordan.
6 from the field. LaBradford Smith left wing drains it. He's got 4 points. Smith just won a hit from there a second ago.
What a way to break in.
LaBradford Smith from Scottie Pippen goes down. LaBradford Smith, a little room now. Runs right down. Baseline. Smith has hit everything else from there. Why not another one? LaBradford Smith came off the screen. Makes the move. A very tough shot to foul on Darrell Walker. Ray inside. Fadeaway jumper.
Yep. He's got it going, hasn't he? 21.
LaBradford Smith.
And he's wearing Michael out. Mike, it's just...
LaBradford went maniac. He torched MJ all night, who also had a weak game by his standards. From everywhere, in every situation, Smith was able to score. And with 37 points on just 20 shots, he destroyed the greatest player of all time. Although, well, that was something that could happen, right? It's the NBA. You're playing against the best players on earth. However, something happened that lit the fuse for Jordan. It was just 3 words that LaBradford said to him at the end of the game. "Nice game, Mike." Jordan went straight to the tunnel. He didn't talk to anyone. He felt humiliated by a guard who wasn't even consistent during his short career. But coincidentally, 24 hours later, the Bulls and the Bullets would face each other again on the second night of the back-to-back. Destiny was already written. March 20th, 1993. Less than 24 hours had passed since the previous game and both teams were already warming up. Michael had told his inner circle what had happened, and now it was in his hands to change the outcome. Of course, he did his best. As if there were a story written by fate, the ball went into Michael's hands right after the jump ball. It was as if it were a premonition that MJ had a lot to prove that night. And above all, he had someone to silence. We didn't have to wait long for him to start proving it, because on his first touch of the game, Jordan knocked down an impressive fadeaway from the low post. It was a shot where he barely had an angle, and the backboard was in his way. But that didn't matter. Right after that, Jordan went back on the attack. While guarded by LaBradford, Jordan used Will Purdue's pick to disorient the defense and create the space he needed for his long two. The defense knew that was a mistake. You can't leave MJ wide open in that position. And of course, Jordan didn't forgive. Now, what Michael did to LaBradford on the next play was total humiliation. The situation was similar. Jordan was at the top of the key looking for space after Purdue's screen. But this time, Michael sent Smith flying with an incredible pump fake. After that, he knocked down the easy mid-range shot on the move. Michael was unleashed. In semi-transition situations, he was totally unstoppable, and he punished the Bullets again from mid-range, draining a long two right in the face of Charles Jones. MJ was 4 for 4 from the field at that point, so a few minutes later he felt confident enough to shoot a 3 off the dribble from the top of the key. Bad news for Washington, the man couldn't miss. Jordan was even expanding his usual repertoire. He had 11 points and hadn't even had to step in the paint once. Although knowing Michael's game, that wouldn't last long. Scottie Pippen throws a precise pass to Jordan, who's able to shake off LaBradford with a quick move off the ball, a play in which Smith is completely disoriented at the mercy of the greatest player of all time. At this point, poor LaBradford was guarding Michael, and that was the perfect excuse for him to destroy him over and over again. As soon as the matchup came, Jordan thought something like, "Yep, this is a mismatch. Just get out of the way." And without even putting the ball on the floor, Michael drains a deep 2 in Smith's face. When the Bulls didn't know what to do, the rock always ended up in the same hands. And again, with his usual precision from mid-range, MJ is able to knock down yet another long 2 and catch and shoot. Again, in LaBradford's face. There were moments when it seemed like Mike was toying with him, and Smith's only recourse at that point was to foul him every time. Something that wasn't very useful when you're sending a great free throw shooter to the line, who was also particularly inspired that night. The Bullets are forced to act. They changed Jordan's defender, who is now being guarded by Rex Chapman. But guess what? It wasn't going to do much good against MJ, who decided to back him up and knock down a beautiful bank shot from the low post. Chapman's defense wasn't enough to stop a player who could not miss from mid-range. Jordan simply decided to take the jumper on his face every time. And man, even though we're all human, that night, Michael certainly didn't seem like it. Jordan was also faster than Chapman. He decided to start using his athleticism to make room for himself in the paint. This time, he decided to team up with Stacey King in a give-and-go action to finish with a crafty finish that not only was worth 2 points, but also allowed him to get the and one. At that point, Michael was so confident in himself that he decided to continue expanding his range during the first half. Yes, you heard right. Not only was halftime not yet here, but there was still a good amount of time left. Of course, that night, the Hoops couldn't say no to him. MJ knocks down his second 3 of the night. Now, as if the night was getting long for Bullets fans, imagine how it was for LaBradford. As soon as he returned to the court, Jordan went after him again. He was literally toying with him, backing him up from more than 20 feet. Dream shake. Then connects an incredible fadeaway right in his face. What the Capitol Center was witnessing was more than humiliation. It was murder. Of course, above all, MJ wanted to win the game. And he didn't get obsessed with scoring as if he were desperate. Between buckets, he made the right decisions, like on this play, where he finds Scottie Pippen wide open after collapsing the defense by driving. But to put the icing on the cake of a legendary first half, Jordan went hard to the rim in the final moments of the second quarter. And if he wasn't able to score, as in this play, it was because he was fouled. Simply unstoppable. By halftime, the game was over. The problem wasn't that the Bulls were winning by 15 points. The problem was that Jordan had destroyed the Bullets' defense over and over again. The man had 36 points at halftime. It didn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how good you are. You can't compete against that monster of nature. All because of 3 words that hurt his ego and forced him to step up. Jordan approached the second half differently. It seemed that, deep down, he felt sorry for LaBradford. So MJ tried to get his teammates to eat too. His connection with Pippen in '93 was already completely fluid. But even though he wasn't going for the kill anymore, he couldn't help himself. Every time Smith was guarding him, he had an overwhelming urge to score. And from mid-range, he could do it whenever he wanted. Seconds later, the situation is exactly the same. But this time, Jordan loses LaBradford on the screen, who also falls to the ground and is left wide open to knock down the midi. The last 24 hours had been an emotional roller coaster for Smith. Michael loved attacking him from the left wing, although this time he decided to find B.J. Armstrong in the short corner so he could knock down the long 2. But the truth is that the Bullets were still trying to lock him up, which often brought him back to the same place, the free throw line. The game was already lost for the Bullets, but his opponents were trying to save their honor. However, after his incredible performance, MJ wanted more. He was also working on defense, getting steals. And he continued to organize the offense and create incredible looks for his teammates. This time, Michael rewarded Purdue for all the screens he had set for him during the game with a great pass that left him wide open in the paint after an incredible spin move. Jordan continued to attack the hoop with the same hunger, and the result was almost always the same: free throws. But he still had some fuel left in the tank. After a good entry pass that allowed Michael to receive in the low post, he knocked down a bank fadeaway after a shimmy. It was a shot that made him look like he was rising above the Washington skyline. That said, in the fourth quarter, Michael didn't even have to step on the court. What he had done in the previous 3 quarters was enough to secure a win that would not be remembered as a normal regular season game. That night was remembered as the moment when Michael Jordan completely destroyed LaBradford Smith. That night was remembered as the moment when MJ made the Bullets guard eat his words. And here's the wild part: LaBradford never even said it. Those 3 words, "Nice game, Mike," came from Jordan himself. Why? Because he needed something to feed the fire.
Public writers went up to Michael and said, "Did this ever happen?" And Michael's with a smile, just like, "No, I made it up." There's nothing he would not do to get himself to the place where he's going to beat you.
That's Michael Jordan in a nutshell. He was only playing against himself. This time, in the form of a story he himself invented. The score didn't matter. The date didn't matter. The opponent could be a rookie, an all-star, or a guy you barely remember. If you caught him on the wrong night, he'd make sure you never forgot it for the rest of your career. That's why decades later, the LaBradford Smith game isn't just about revenge. It's about the lengths the GOAT would go to stay the GOAT. It's about a mentality so fierce, it could turn an ordinary back-to-back in March into one of the coldest chapters in NBA history. Now, if you were around for this game, what do you remember most? Was Jordan showing greatness or just pettiness? And what's your favorite MJ revenge story? Drop it in the comments and let's see which moment the real fans remember. If you live for legendary breakdowns, epic rivalries, and the moments that made basketball history, subscribe to First 5 Hoops and join a community of real basketball fans. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with all our latest content. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.